Hey, what's going on, everyone? Today we have the meta snapshot for patch 16.1c. We're going to cover how to play each and every one of the top comps, how to kind of plan your early game, and also go over what the best comps are right now. So let's start with that first. We have Yunara Flex. I think Diana is so easy. If you ever want to just like stop thinking, stop overthinking, just do it, get results, Yunara Flex is going to be the comp for you. You're not going to win much with this comp, but if you just want to turn your brain off, get top fours pretty much guaranteed, play some Diana, like you will not regret it because it's so easy to play and it stabilizes super hard and it's not expensive. You don't need to like pray for super specific or super niche openers. So that's one comp to kind of go for. 9 Void, very good as like a home run comp. It's like the opposite of Yunara Flex. If you want to try to hit home runs, play 9 Void. Tryndamere Ashe reroll. This is kind of like the best of both worlds. It's both consistent if you're uncontested, and it also has a chance of winning out depending on how early you hit Tryndamere and Ashe. Bilgewater Misfortune. Bilgewater is still fine. It got nerfed a lot, I know, but it is still playable. It still is a viable way to get to all the legendary units and do like Fast 9 soup. Ixtal, whenever you get Ixtal start, either Fast 9 or do like a Bard reroll. Either or for Ixtal works really, really well depending on what quests you get. Yunara Flex is the last comp in the S tier. This one's just like a solid 4-cost comp, you know, like pretty consistent. If you have the right items for this, if you have the right Ionia for this, definitely go for this because you could stabilize at 8 and then cap out at higher levels. So if you compare that to Diana, Diana's mainly just like, yeah, I hit Diana and that's how strong I'm going to be. I can add more legendaries, but it's not going to make me an insane amount stronger. But with Yunara Flex, like, it's kind of both. Like, you kind of stabilize, not as hard. You don't stabilize as hard, but I think this comp does have better late game than the Diana build. Next up, we have is the A tiers. These are still solid comps, still good to go for. AD Fast 9, that's just Fast 9ing, playing around Senna or the Kindred. Freljord Flex, there's some cool Rise boards you could get into. There's also like AP and AD options to go into from Freljord. Pretty solid overall. Ixtal Bard. This one's just if you get Ixtal, you could do reroll. And then I got 2 comps that I think are going to be a bit surprising. So first one is going to be Draven GP reroll. Draven's absolutely bonkers right now. If you ever get Draven from an orb at the beginning of the game, like, yeah, you just go for Draven and like you'll see what that comp is about. And then last but not least, low genuinely, like I think Demacia is one of the hidden comps, not so much hidden, but like underrated comps of this patch because it's so easy to play, and I think the reason why is because people aren't building the right items on Demacia. I was told by some guy he was Master 0 LP, and then I think now he's like 400 LP, playing a lot of Demacia, and he had some cool like item choices that I think a lot of people are not doing right now. So I'll leave that spoiler for later when we cover the comp. And also like he taught someone else who went from Diamond 40 LP to Masters. I think it took him like a day and a half, spamming like pretty much like 60% of his games were Demacia, so kind of underrated comp like that you could just spam a lot. It goes in line with the like do not think with the Diana comp, but obviously like you prefer having Demacia opener before going for this. In the B tier, Yasuo reroll, it's honestly solid. It's just very situational. Sylas is still good. The only issue with Arcanist Sylas is that you need to play around both Annie and Sylas, and Annie needs 2 mana items, so if you don't have that and you can't get Sylas, it's going to be really troublesome to kind of go for. Mel Fast 9, Mel's still good, but just not as good as she was before. Bard Sion, it is viable if you get a good bruiser opener. Bel'Veth Slayers, if you don't want to do like the darkened stuff, like you could kind of go for this, but I prefer just going Void or something. Shadow Owl, Shadow Owls is still viable. It's very easy to play too. This is another turn your brain off comp. I personally like it, but it's just not that good right now. And then like, yeah, the rest of this, like Gunslinger T-Hex, it's just too hard to unlock. You need very specific conditions to kind of get around to that. So let's cover how to play the comps now, and then after that, I'll tell you how to approach the patch. First comp up we have is Yunara Flex. So what is important in Yunara Flex? It is going to be having perfect items on Diana. Rageblade, Titan's Resolve, Bloodthirster. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about this. One thing to know about this comp is that as you get higher and higher, it does become slightly worse, but it's still good at every level, and definitely is a tool used by some of the top level players. Obviously, if you're fighting for like top 50 or like rank 50 or whatever, or even higher, like, yeah, you're not going to be playing Yunara Flex every single game. But for literally everyone else on planet Earth, if you just play Diana and just hard force the items every single game, like, you will climb no matter what. Like, it is that easy. That's why I'm ranking it up this high. But how do we play this? Well, you need to just get 2-star Leona early. So if you ever get like a lesser champion duplicator from your opener, like that happens pretty often. Like, you pretty much can just hard force this comp. Just go full lose streak, pick up bows on Carousel, and then just like roll for Leona and then use the champion duplicator, and then you get Leona 2 and then you get Diana. Other times you could go for this and just super hard force it is if you get a Leona from an orb. That also is another way to go for this. One other way is if you are on like a super econ lose streak and you need a bailout, this comp is definitely viable where you have so much econ, you get to level 7, preferably on stage 3-5, and then you use that gold to roll down and hit Leona 2-star, unlock Diana, and then go from there. And obviously, since you were lose streaking, you got all the bows, and then you have at least 2 Diana items by that time. The trouble with this comp is scaling to the later parts of the game. And to do that, or like one way to help do that, is by playing Azir. Azir unlocks all the Shurima units, so you could play him. His items, you just put whatever leftovers you have on him, and then slowly try to unlock the Shurimas. Obviously, you can't do all of them, because since you most likely lose streaked into Diana, you probably don't have much HP to play with, so you're mainly just going to be playing around Renekton, because you're just going to win rounds in stage 4, and losing them is too risky at that time. So don't go for like the Nasus and the Xerath on purpose. Like if it just so happens to get it, like obviously, yeah, it's going to be good to get them, but I wouldn't like sack my game to try to get them because you need to win during stage 4 because this comp does fall off later. But Azir kind of helps with that because you get extra units. You could play all the random legendaries. Like you could take out pretty much every unit out of this comp and just play 5-cost units, and that'll be fine too. Like you don't need to be running Vi and Nico in the late game if you have something better to put in. This is just a nice little cheap build that you could use before you get to your late game. So this is kind of like going to like Planet Fitness or something like that. And then if you want to go Equinox, like take out Vi and Nico, put in some legendaries like Fiddlesticks, those things like that, Shyvana, and that's pretty much all you need to do. As for augments, you don't really need too many augments for this comp. Like I prefer combat augments. I think like Celestial Blessing is like super good. Yeah, I have that written down here. BuddyMuffins.lol/meta for this, along with the full write-ups. But you could do either econ or combat augments. Like they both work out pretty fine. If you have like the duplicator at the start of the game, I would go more combats. If you don't have that and you're trying to hard force this comp and you don't have any copies of Leona or anything like that, then I would prefer to go for an econ start. That way you could do the level 7 roll down on stage 3-5 without completely griefing your game. But yeah, Diana just stabilizes hard in stage 4. That's pretty much all there is to it. Just collect top 4s. It's going to be a little bit hard to win games, but it is what it is. Next comp up we have is 9 Void Kaisa. So Kaisa has the 2 builds, AP and AD. I prefer the AP version, but honestly, like if you have the AD version, it is what it is. You gotta make do with what you get. But the way to play Void is to try to get Void as early as possible. It's actually pretty easy to do because you just need 2 Void. In previous sets, Void was a 3 Void. They do like a 3-6-9, but this set is a 2-4-6-9. But you really just need to try to unlock Rift Herald. He did get nerfed a little bit, but this comp is still really good. It just wins out. I've seen so many cap boards that just lose to some random 9 Void Baron board, and it's really funny because, yeah, you just play around Baron. You need to get to level 10. That is the troublesome part. Like, it's not easy to do. You need, like, big econ and Void start to make this possible, but if you do have the stars align, you will win pretty much no matter what. Like, yeah, this is just a high win comp, and you know what's hilarious? The version you see on the board here isn't even the best version. This is like the Whole Foods version, you know? It's still pretty good, still pretty expensive, but like there are ways to make this even better. What some people have actually been doing is dropping down to 6 Void in order to get this to be even stronger after you get Baron. Like, let me show you if you don't believe me. If you put in Baron Nashor into the Team Explorer or the Data Explorer and then go to Traits, type in Void over here, 6 Void actually does better than 9 Void. But do you know why people don't just play 6 Void? It's because it's too expensive to find replacements and you end the game already before you can get there. So that's why people don't go 6 Void that often. But technically the best version of this board is going to be upgrading from Whole Foods to Erewhon. And to do that, you take out some of the random Void units that you don't care about. Like maybe Malzahar. You need to keep Kog'Maw to complement your Kaisa. You could take out Rek'Sai, you could take out Bel'Veth. And then you just have 6 Void, and then you type in 5 here, and then play any of the legendary units 2-star. Like, that's another way to cap out this comp. And then I guess according to the science, the further you drop down, the better and better it gets, which is even funnier. You could go down to 4 or 2 Void. I mean, if you're able to play like Azir plus Renekton plus Nasus plus Xerath, like, yeah, you could drop even more Voids or something like that. But the game's not going to last that long for you to do that. And just having the regular Whole Foods board, you know, you're going to beat like 95% of games, like, even with just that. So you don't need to do the super upgrade. I just want to let you know, like, if you are in one of those games where it's like Scuttle Puddle everyone's like 2-star legendary everything. Some other guy is 3-star 4 cost, and that guy lost to someone else already. That's how strong the game is. And you're like, how do I get stronger with the Void board? That's what you do. You take out some Void units, drop down to 6 or 4, play 2-star legendaries of your own, and like, yeah, Nashor's going to do some nasty stuff. And oh, one other thing, with positioning, Nashor can do a lot of different positioning. So if you want him to tank a bit, you can have him up front. That works perfectly fine. If you don't want him to tank, like let's say you have a lot of strong front lines, like you have Rift Herald, you have like the 2 Azir soldiers, or like whatever you have, like let's just say you have a lot of tanks magically, you could put him second row or actually in the back. All 3 positioning works. Like I played with all 3 of them. All of them win. So I don't know which one is best because all of them win because you're going to win no matter what. But the difference between each of these 3 positionings is that in the front, if you have like very weak tanks, then yeah, Baron in the front is going to be pretty good. If you have strong tanks and you just want Baron to do damage, yeah, second row is perfectly fine. Alternatively, you could do the back row and have him rush up to the front and do his little animation. Like that's also perfectly fine too. Like there isn't too much of a difference between second row and fourth row. Both work out perfectly fine. But yeah, you just need a lot going for you to get this comp to work. You need Void Opener preferably and access to level 10. So that's either being on like big econ portal or having a good econ augment in the early game, or just getting like gold opener from the PvE round, the starting PvE round, or you just like win streak with Void. That's another way to do it too. So those are the main methods, and yeah, this is super duper strong comp. I go into more detail here, but you can read that on your own time. Put the website up on your other monitor, tell your friends about it, tell your mom about it, do everything you can to kind of spread the word. But next up we have is Tryndamere Ashe Reroll. This is my favorite comp, so I'm coming out with a video series with unranked to diamond, and the way I'm playing those games to go from unranked to diamond, I'm just seeing what I get at the start of the game and then hard forcing the comp. I'm doing science experiments for all of you guys out there. So one thing I've noticed is that whenever I hard force Tryndamere and Ashe reroll, it is so good. It's so funny because all I do is if I start the game with an Ashe, then I just hard force it. If I start the game with Pandora's items, I hard force it. If I start the game with a reroll augment, I hard force it. So I've done it from all 3 different scenarios, and all of them work out really well with like 0 skill expression. So I'm kind of excited to post that video. It's not going to be all like Ashe every single game, but one of the games will be. It's just to show like how powerful this comp is. And I'm telling you, if you ever played any reroll comp in the history of TFT before, this is going to be like a very easy LP printer comp that you could play. So all you have to do is play Ashe and put 2 items on her. It could be any items, but preferably something that she kind of uses, right? And then that unlocks Tryndamere. Like we talk about the unlocks over here. Once you get that, you want to take off the items from Ashe and then put them on Tryndamere, because Tryndamere is the true carry in this comp. Like Ashe doesn't really do that much. Like, yeah, you still want her 3-star. Yeah, she's still good, but the main power of this comp is just Tryndamere. Like Ashe is very secondary. Just look at the damage charts. Like Tryndamere doubles Ashe's damage while tanking like most of your team. And yeah, there's just too much of a difference. But the main key about this comp is that you need a lot of bows, and Quicksilver on Tryndamere is absolutely mandatory. I don't think any item is as good as Quicksilver on Tryndamere, so you absolutely need that item on him. And then after that, like, there are a lot of options. So you could do like Rageblade. Rageblade's good, Rageblade BT, classic combo, but they've also fixed like a bug with Tryndamere where Infinity Edge works really well on him. So we could do 3-star 3 items there, like, yeah, you absolutely need Quicksilver. Most people build the Rageblade, but Infinity Edge, I think, is very underrated right now. So you could go like IE plus Rageblade, and then go for maybe like a healing augment. That works out pretty decently. Or you could just go healing item like you see here. But I think Rageblade is the best, but obviously works best if you have a healing augment. Another thing to do is obviously the Darken items. Darken's really good for this. You could play Aatrox eventually, and also it just gives him the lifesteal plus a bunch of stats, so it's just like better than any of the regular items, obviously. And then if you get a random Ornn item or a Radiant, that's also going to be really nice on Tryndamere. After you get 3 items for Tryndamere, I do prioritize Ashe items, but honestly, I don't prioritize them that heavily. If I see a tank item I can build for Sejuani, such as Sunfire Cape or Even Shroud, I pretty much build those immediately because you do need the utility in your game. And sometimes building all your items on Ashe means you can't get these utilities early on enough, and that could cost you some rounds. So after I build Tryndamere, I just see what I get. I just slam whatever I have, even if I have Pandora's. I don't go for like perfect Ashe items or like perfect Sejuani items. I just see an item that's buildable, gives me something that I need to support my Tryndamere, I build that and then go on with my day. So Even Shroud, huge priority. Sunfire Cape, pretty big priority. And then after that, like Rage Blade, Kraken, Ashe, and then third item on her doesn't really matter. But yeah, I listed out down here, Artifacts and Radiance make this comp S tier. If you do make a Radiant, put it on Tryndamere, not Ashe. And yeah, you can just hard force this comp if it's uncontested. Like one person should go for this every single game. So if someone else doesn't do it, it's your job to do it. And if you don't do it, someone else will. So make sure you spam this Tryndamere. Super duper duper powerful. And yeah, oh, one other note. If you are playing this comp, you're going to be level 6 most of the time. So what is the base that you run? Well, it's obviously going to be Ashe and Tryndamere. After that, you need Draven for Quick Striker and Briar for Slayer. And then you also need Sejuani for the Frozen Tower for Freljord. So these 5 units are completely essential. But what do you play after that? Because this is what the comp looks like. I recommend playing Swain if you do get him. He gives you the Noxus buff, which is nice. That doesn't do anything crazy. It just summons Otacon, right? But he also provides a bunch of CC for your team, so he's just very, very useful. If you don't have him yet, then you play Nico, but as soon as you get 1-star Swain, I would just take out the Nico, play Swain, and then once you level up, you add Nico back in. In terms of whether you need Nico 3-star or not, I would only do that if you have like some insane reroll augments such as Prismatic Ticket or Pandora's Bench. If you just have like Trade Sector, if you have just a few champion duplicators, like do not go for Nico. She's definitely like more than a luxury. Like you don't need her at all 3-star because you're not really itemizing her. So those are some like little tips for some of the people out there. Next build up we have is going to be Bilgewater Misfortune. This comp is pretty solid. Got nerfed, but you could still fast 9 with it. And as long as Lucian and Senna is good, this comp is going to be good. I don't really know what else to say about this, but you just play Bilgewater, get a bunch of Bilgewater items, unlock as many Bilgewaters as you can in the early game so you could get to 5 Bilgewater in the mid game and 7 eventually, and then you get the Bilgewater items and then slowly pivot out of this. You drop down to 3 Bilgewater, play Lucian, Senna, a bunch of legendaries, and it's just like a fast 9 comp. You just go to level 9, roll down, and then hope Lucian and Senna carry, which like oftentimes they do. Tahm Kench is pretty nice. Whether you want to feed him a 1-star meal or a 3-star meal, it's going to depend. 3-star Michelin star restaurants near me, they cost like I think $400 per person. Oh wait, I just looked it up. Some of them are $300. Okay, that's not bad. That's without the wine pairing too, right? Okay, I'm just kidding. That is pretty bad. But yeah, whether you want to feed him a 1-star meal or a 3-star meal, it's gonna be very pricey. That's kind of the point I was trying to make. Like, so make sure when you feed Tahm Kench, feed him rice and beans first. Like, feed him the 1-star, 1-cost units to get him buffed up. You want to focus on AP units and health units. So what I like to do is get him to like maybe a couple hundred HP in terms of buffs, and then obviously with the bruiser trait he gets a little bonus for the HP, and then after that you focus all in on AP. That way your Tahm Kench can actually survive a little bit before he dies off, and then that way he could like finish his animation and keep eating people. One other thing to note is you should be positioning Tahm Kench every single turn. Put it next to their frontliner with items that is the weakest. So if they have, like, let's say you're facing someone and they have, I don't know, let's say like a Braum and a Nasus, and their Braum's got like sick items on him. He's got whatever, right? What you want to do is, let me get rid of some of these people first. What you want to do is place your Tahm Kench like over here. You want to eat their Nasus, not their Braum, because their Braum has 3 items. You're probably not killing him, but the Nasus with 1 item, or maybe he's 1-star, like, yeah, you could definitely kill that. So always position your Tahm Kench around like their weakest tank unit. That way when he eats them, he'll spit them out, and then you'll get an item component, which is obviously what you want, and then you get infinite scaling into the late game. One other thing to note about this Bilgewater comp is that if you ever see augments where it's like, oh, for every item you have, get a buff, like get HP, get this, get that, whatever it is, those augments are really good in this comp because you get all the Bilgewater items, and you also get components from Tahm Kench, and you end up playing Ornn, and Ornn also likes a lot of items, so you just get a lot of bonuses from those types of augments. So that's another thing to look out for, but like, yeah, Econ augment is good too because you want to fast 9 and go crazy from there. Next comp up we have is going to be the Brock fast 9. So whenever you get an Ixtal game, like, you just go Ixtal. You just either go the Brock build or the Bard build. I mean, both of them want Brock, but you just go for fast 9 or reroll. Sorry, that's what I should have said instead. So the way to do it is you just get Ixtal, ideally on stage 2-1. Like, I'd say 2-3 latest, but obviously the earlier the better. And then just start questing. Do the quest that you are actually able to complete. You don't want to get quest blocked because then your game is over. Like, you will go 8th if you get quest blocked, unless you can do some miraculous pivot into something else. but that kind of requires superhuman TFT skills. So the best thing to do is just make sure you absolutely can complete the quest and do everything in your power to do so. Because once you get Brock, you are saved and you go about your day. Brock is really good because he like CCs the entire board. He also does a bunch of damage and he also tanks a bunch. So there's really not anything he doesn't do. He's just an all-around like super win con. Another thing you do with this comp is you play around a lot of other legendary units. So you could do like Lucian, Senna, Kindred. You could do Ornn if you want. Brock doesn't really have any synergies. He's just an Ixtal, so you could literally play anything with this. Like, it is a flex board. You don't have to play what you see here. It's just because in this meta, Lucian and Senna are both really strong, and Kindred just keeps like your entire team alive, and she really like stops a lot of things from killing you. But you could easily play like maybe Azir into this, like play all the Shurima units. You could play any version of any of the 5-cost boards. You just need to have Brock in there, obviously, because you played your whole game to get the Ixtal cash out. So there isn't really too much to say about this comp. Like, HP augments do help a bunch. HP as in like hard bargain. That gives you more player health because you just need to get 500 sun shards. So another thing to note is that you don't need to spend all the shards at once to unlock Brock. You could do them like in separate things, but usually you just spend them all at once to get Brock because it's like more optimal to do that. Not optimal. It's like the biggest cap you get is by doing that, because if you do a cash out early, you miss a turn of doing a quest. So that's kind of why like people go for the full cash out to get Brock instead of doing it in smaller pieces. The only reason why you would do it in smaller pieces is if you just can't complete any of the quests that they offer you. So if none of your quests are realistically complete, cash out and restart. So that's another thing that's perfectly fine to do. But yeah, nothing too complicated about this build. You just need Ixtal early, and then you just need to complete the quest. Next build up we have is, oh yeah, and I list out some other like carry options down here. Next comp up we have is Yunara Flex. This one is going to be built around like just having Rage Blade starts, and then you're like, what should I do from there? Well, Yunara is going to be a very popular option if you want to play around 4-cost units. This comp plays around 3 of them. And I know there are a lot of legendaries in here too, but that's just the nature of flex boards. Flex boards play a lot of legendaries, but you don't need them to top 4. Like, you do need them to win out, but not to top 4. So with Yunara, it really depends what Ionia you have. Like, if you have one of the gold Ionias, that's like really nice to have. Those are generally the best ones, but Yunara is just really good right now. You want to be playing Infinity Edge on her. She's absolutely bonkers busted with this item. They changed something with the game this patch where they fixed some bug or something like that, and Yunara just goes absolutely crazy with Infinity Edge. So build that on her. She just zaps everyone, and yeah, in an AoE, kills everything. But this is just a typical fast 8 board into fast 9, but you need a lot of econ augments to kind of make this work. I mean, you don't need it, but it definitely is preferable. But if you ever have like Rage Blade start, like perfectly fine. And if you win streak a bit, yeah, you could go into this Yunara build. Yunara, I would say she has like the strength of a 4.5 cost. Like, she's not as good as a 5-cost carry, but like I'd say she's better than all the other 4-cost carries right now. Just be careful of Diana's. Diana's can kill Yunara, so do the anti-Diana positioning. I'll make a video on positioning later this week, but essentially what you can do something like this. Where you have 4 tanks over here and 1 tank over there. Like, Yunara will not get hit by Diana. So if their Diana's here, she's going to jump over there instead of over there, which is pretty nice. There are a bunch of other anti-Diana positioning techs, but you could also put Yunara over here. That way, if Diana's over there, she'll jump to whatever unit's in the corner, not to Yunara. And that's another way to kind of avoid this stuff. So you can either put her here or like do this like little 1-4 positioning with your front line. It depends how many frontliners you have though, but it's a little tricky because of the Freljord thing. So you could just put her there and have all the Freljord units like around here or whatever, and then Diana is going to be delayed a little bit. It's not going to be stopped completely, but delaying is good enough. Next build up we have is going to be the A tier, so AD Fast 9. So a lot of the Fast 9 comps, they require the same stuff. So this is pretty much like the Yunara build, just without Yunara. Like, you could skip Yunara and just go straight into Lucian Senna or Kindred, depending on who you get. But if you ever get aura farming or any of those augments that give 2-star legendaries later on in the game, what's the other one called? Like Birthday Reunion? Those are going to be super duper duper good with this if you can get Kindred or Lucian. But it just plays out like any other Fast 9 game. Like, you just need a lot of econ augments and you level up. Play a version of this board. Like, you either play the AP Fast 9 or AD Fast 9. This is just the AD version, but all those comps kind of play the same. So get a lot of econ or win streak early, slam the items early. Like, if you slammed AD items, go for this. You will cap out really high with this. It's just hard to go Fast 9 every single game. You need like specific starts for it. Next one up we have is Ixtal Bard reroll. So if you get an Ixtal start, but you want to reroll, So if you get a 2-1 augment that provides rolls, you can go for the Bard Orianna board with Ixtal. So you could start with Bard, maybe you go for the Bruiser version, but then you don't see Bruisers or something like that, or you just see Ixtal really early. You can just switch into the Ixtal quest. So it's better to get Ixtal earlier rather than later, but I have seen people get it by like stage 3 and still make this work, but ideally you have it at the start of the game. So depending on how comfortable you are with this, like the earlier the better. Like if you've never played this comp before and you want to try it because you are like, oh, I saw it in a Bunny Muffins video, let me try it, then you definitely want to only try this on stage 2-1 or 2-3 at latest. But if you're super experienced, you could play around with this and maybe get it a little bit later and still make it work. But if you ever get Trade Sector at the beginning of the game, this is like the ideal start for this. You just use your rolls on Bard, get them unlocked, and then look for the Ixtals and start questing, because yeah, you're gonna have a good time. You're gonna get a cash out, you're gonna get Brock, and Brock, as we learned before, is OP if you can get him, if and only if you can get him. But this is one of the boards you can play. Yeah, it's just reroll. Like you just complete the quest and do the rerolls. Some of the quests are like, oh, reroll like 20 times or whatever. I forget the exact number. This comp is really, really good for that. So that's kind of why this works out that way. So if you want to unlock Brock and you don't want to do Fast 9, or you can't do Fast 9, you can also do it from Bard. Next build up we have is going to be the Freljord Flex build. Freljord Flex is going to be one of those builds that has a lot of different paths. There's the AP version, there's the AD version, there's the Rise version, both for Bruiser and Yunara. So if we looked at the Yunara board from before, this board is very, very similar. Also, Rise is pretty good, so play him when you can if you get the chance. There are a couple of, let's go over the Rise first. So there's the Rise Yunara version. This one is going to be if you want to build a Rage Blade early and then you still get a Freljord start. So you could play like Anivia with the items that you have on Rise right now, maybe with like a mana item. If you got an early Draven, you could play Draven because Ashe and Draven are quick strikers, and then put the Rage Blade on Draven. So there are a couple of different ways to go into this. But if you have like a base Freljord start, it is kind of nice to get into. Or if you have any augment that helps you kind of fast 8. Both the Rise Yunara and the AP Freljord build are going to be pretty good. The reason why is because you could play around the 4 cost, stabilize a bit, and then go level 9, and then go for the 5 cost there. And in this case, the level 9 is going to be the key reason to unlock Rise. Another thing I like about this comp is that you have a lot of options for tanks, so you could do Wukong or Taric. Both of them are 4 cost units, both of them are solid tanks, and whoever you 2-star first, that's going to be who your tank is. I believe that's the same for both of these boards. So even if you don't see tank items on them, just like put it on whoever you can, or whoever's upgraded. And yeah, for Yunara, you want it if you have like a good Ionia, or if you have a Rage Blade built already. If you want to go the Rise Bruiser build, this one's really popular. This one's good if you are able to unlock Volibear, which is pretty easy because you do have the Bruiser buff. You don't need Warmogs if you have 4 Bruiser. So you could just build like 2 health items that are not Warmogs and still be able to meet the threshold. That's kind of nice. And obviously Volibear is going to be an absolute monster when you do unlock him. Rise is really good. Rise is also just fun to play. He could use all sorts of different items. I like having a mana item plus 2 like damage items, but they could also be the utility depending on what you're able to build throughout the game. But I'd say the key units in this build are going to be the Kabuko and the Kennen. So both these units need to be unlocked. They need star levels. For Kabuko and Yuumi, it's going to be Bruiser, Invoker, and Yordle. For Kennen, it's going to be Ionia, Defender, and Yordle. So as long as you're playing boards that use some of those units, like mainly Yordles at the start, it is going to be pretty easy to do. But you do need to unlock them just because they are very key units for this build. Whenever you're playing like a Rise build, like every unit matters. You don't really change the units too much because each of these builds unlock exactly 4 different regions so that you can get Rise out and about. AD version of Freljord Flex, this one's going to be built around Kindred. It's just nice because Kindred is a quick striker and Ashe is a quick striker, so both of them work out really well together, and Kindred is OP right now, so that's kind of why you would go for this. If you're able to get to level 9 reliably with the AD items and then you're going like very deep into the Freljord trait, this is nice to do because this is like a 5 Freljord build. The other ones we saw were 3. With the Rise. And then the other 5 version is going to be with Lissandra. This version's a little bit weaker, but it caps out around Zillion. If you ever get like aura farming Zillion, going to be really nice to go for this build because you go for 4 Invoker and play from there. There are a lot of versions of this build. You could obviously drop some units later on for more legendaries and drop down to 3 Freljord and 2 Invoker, but if you ever get 2-star Zillion, he actually can do some carrying. Like a lot of people, they don't really carry Zillion that much. I don't know why. Well, I do know why. It's because he's a little bit more niche. You need to have like specific builds for him to actually work. But both these builds work out fine. When do you want to go for this? If you have like a tempo opener with Freljord, it's going to be pretty nice. If you don't know what items you're making, or like you just made items and you don't know what comp you're going for in the future, like one of these builds is going to use the items that you got from somewhere, so that's pretty nice. And then if you're not going for a bruiser, you need to make sure you keep Warmogs, and if you are going for a bruiser, like you don't really need it. You just need 2 random health items, and then obviously you need to be able to unlock Volibear if you are playing him, because that's going to be very crucial to a lot of these boards. But yeah, Freljord Flex, pretty solid board, a little bit difficult to execute, but it's something you could go into if you don't know what you're doing. Now for the comp that I've been waiting to talk about. So I love 7 Demacia so much. It's so easy to play. You just have one risk of the comp, and that is sometimes you can't 2-star any of your Demacia units, and then you can't get Gallios. The way to fix that is don't go Demacia literally every single game. You could just go Demacia in games where you start with at least 4 or 5 copies of Demacia units on stage 2-1. So that could be like 2 Jarvans, 1 Xin Zhao, and then you unlock Poppy with the unlock mechanic. It could just be like a Jarvan 2-star. Like if I just have Jarvan 2-star plus unlock Poppy with the unlock mechanic, which is just putting 2 items on any Demacian or Yordle unit, so it's super easy to do, then yeah, I would go for it. But if you have less than that, like let's say you just have 1 Jarvan or something like that, like probably not a game to go Demacia. That's why you only play it like half or like 60% of the time and not all the time, even if you are like trying to go for it every single game. But the secret to this comp is going to be weird. Like you heard it here first, but Hextech Gunblade is so good in this build because Demacians can keep rallying based on like whether they lose 25% of their health or not. So if we like read the Demacia buff, each time your team loses 25% max health, Demacians rally, reducing their mana cost by 10, and you also gain armor and magic resistance. So why is Hextech Gunblade so good then? Well, you don't need to build too much health on your team because you get so many resistances, and then that means each health that you heal from Gunblade is that much more effective because if you have 10 resistances and you get like 10 health heal, it's not going to mean that much. But if you have like 100 armor and 100 MR and you heal for 10 health, that actually means something, you know? It's just a lot more value. So Hextech Gunblade's super good for that purpose. And also, when you lose 25% of your max HP, you trigger the Demacia Rally, and Hextech Gunblade kind of gets you back up and keeps you healed up so that you can keep triggering your Demacia Rally. Obviously, it's not going to happen like a crazy amount of times because it doesn't heal like that much, but it's an extremely underrated item in this build, and again, you heard it here first. Apart from that, like pretty much any items work in the backline. There are also a couple different versions of this build. You could play with Ziggs, you could play with Ornn if you have the time to farm items with him, but the main core of this build is just 7 Demacia, which is actually 6 because Galio sits on your bench, so you could go for Vayne, Poppy, Garen, Xin Zhao, Jarvan, and Lux. You take out Sona most of the time, and then you play Swain. That's going to be the core like 7 of this build. Galio's on your bench. After that, you could fill in random legendaries. It could be Shyvana. Shyvana's good because you get Juggernauts already with this build. You'll be 3 out of 4 Juggernaut, but that's fine because Shyvana is still a good unit because she reduces damage on the enemy team. Fiddlesticks is good because you reduce armor and MR on the enemy team. Ziggs is good because it gives a long shot to your Vayne. You could also play Zilean. If you play Zilean, play Sona instead of Xin Zhao. That way, you get the Invoker buff to your team, and Zilean also is pretty good on his own. Lastly, you could also play Ornn. Ornn is good with Warden for Xin Zhao, so if you have time to farm items, that is something that you could definitely go for. So there are a lot of different variations to this build. It just really depends on what legendaries you hit, but what I love about this comp is that you don't need any of the crazy econ augments. So you could just go for this if you have any bit of a Demacia start and just spam it and win a lot of games. Well, not win a lot of games, but like top 4 in a lot of games. If you get the legendary 2 stars, then yeah, you can win. Or if you get Vayne 3 is very good too. You definitely can win. But if you want to turn your brain off, spam this comp like 50% of the time, like yeah, this is definitely viable for that. You just need to have at least 3 units and then unlock Poppy for the 4th on stage 2-1. That way you get them all 2-starred eventually, and then it makes unlocking Galio a lot easier. But yeah, key items in the backline for Lux is going to be mana item plus Jeweled Gauntlet. If you don't get the Gunblade, something like a Nashor's is really nice for her. Like that's one of my favorites. For Vayne, Kraken I think is her best item. Rageblade isn't that needed. I think it's like a little overrated, if anything. So you could go like double Kraken. That works out pretty well. The reason why like Rageblade I think is a bit overrated is because when she's tumbling, she doesn't auto attack, so you don't like get the most beneficial use out of it. But it obviously still is buildable if you have it. But you also want to save rods for like Gunblades and stuff too. So that's why I don't want to like use a rod on Rageblade because I could use it on Gunblade or a Jeweled Gauntlet for Lux. But one of my favorite builds, I think that is going to be it for the A tier. Yasuo reroll, like only play this if you get a Darken item. Darken items make this comp actually good. Darken Scythe is going to be the one you want to go for because he's a melee unit. But you just go deep into Ionias, do 2-cost reroll, get Yasuo 3, unlock Yone, play around Yone also, and then yeah, these two should be good. The one that gives like 3-star Ionia, like when the Ionia that gives like a bonus to 3-star is good with this comp. Blade Master is pretty good, or like Double Strike Ionia is nice. And obviously any of the Econ ones work out pretty well because it helps you hit Yasuo. The thing about Yasuo is that he's very weak compared to other 2-cost reroll units. So normally when you play 2-cost reroll, you go to level 6, 3-2, and you hit a 2-star 2-cost, and that usually stabilizes you all at stage 3. Then you hit 3-star 2-cost in stage 4, and that stabilizes you in stage 4. Like, unfortunately, with Yasuo, that doesn't really work. He needs help from other people unless you have, like, the Darken item. So that's why this comp's kind of in the B tier right now. It still can work. Like, obviously, if you have Double Strike Ionia, it's very, very nice. But you pretty much just need to hit everything a bit earlier than you normally do. So having, like, the duplicators is really nice. Like, getting team building, like, I think that one's really good. So if you start the game with 2 Yasuos and then you get team building or whatever it's called, like the one that gives duplicators, just pop one on him right away, get him 2-star in stage 2, and then start like winning there. Definitely very viable. But yeah, like it's just a bit weak, but it definitely is playable. Sylas, yeah, just a lot weaker now. It's just too situational. Like you need 2 mana items on Annie and you need to unlock Sylas. Like if you can do that, yeah, you're going to win the game. But unless you can do that, like it's going to be a big struggle. Mel, just like a bit hard to unlock. Bard Sion, seen better days. Like, yeah. Let's go up at the top, and I'll tell you how I'm going to be approaching this patch myself. So first things first, if you get Ixtal, go Ixtal, and just start questing on stage 2-1. If not, you could go for Void, like see if you have a Void game going, see if other people are going for Void. If you have Bilgewater, you could go for the Misfortune build still, and then obviously Ixtal is Ixtal. For reroll angles, if you have Ashe in the early game, with like a bunch of bows or something like that, then go for Tryndamere. Like you get a nice little reroll augment on stage 2-1 or get Pandora's items. Just hard force this comp, you will not regret it. If you get Draven opener, definitely go for this one. Wait a minute, I just realized we didn't actually do this one. Okay, let's go to this one right now. So Draven Gangplank reroll. If you ever get like an early Draven, you just hard force this. It's very viable. And also if you ever get early Bilgewater, instead of going the MF build, you could also go for the Draven build instead. Darken items help this build out a bunch. But essentially, if you ever get a reroll angle or an early Draven, you can just hard force this. Build on Draven is Rage Blade, I say is mandatory. Get a Death Blade. You could do Kraken instead. Both items work. You just need a source of attack damage and then finish it off with a Giant Slayer. Next for Gangplank, getting all the glove items is really nice. You could do Quicksilver plus Hand of Justice. He gets built-in crit with the Mbessa from Vanquisher, so that's really nice to kind of have. So that's why you don't need Infinity Edge. And then very important on Nautilus, you need Even Shroud because you need a source of anti-armor. Like worst case, build a Last Whisper on your Draven, but having Even Shroud's just much more consistent. It just applies to a lot more people. But for the rest of the team, you want to drop in like a bunch of random synergies. So Twisted Fate's good because he's both Quick Striker and Bilgewater. Bilgewater just helps you build Econ and 3-star both Nautilus and Gangplank. Loris is good because he's Warden, and then with Loris you could add in a Piltover with Seraphine. That works out really well. And then Briar's good because he gives Slayer. Gangplank is Slayer, Vanquisher, and Bilgewater. And Briar is obviously a Slayer and also a Juggernaut, and Nautilus is also a Juggernaut. So you just get like a lot of random traits that work out really well. Honestly, you could probably bronze for life this board. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 traits, that's pretty good. And then if you level up again, add in a Disruptor. It could be anyone like Azir. You could even do Mel because you have Mbessa. So that could be like a very good like late game cap with this board. But yeah, essentially with this build, you just want to do 3-cost reroll. Getting the Darken items is really nice. Early Bilgewater is good. You need to unlock Graves. Graves helps you get to more Bilgewater, so you can start getting more Silver Serpents earlier. But essentially, you don't even need to roll that much because you get all the resources from Bilgewater. So you could get like GP3, Nautilus 3, like pretty much no issue. But then obviously, you also need the Draven. So like Draven, you want to try to hit him at like 3-star at stage 4, 5. It's a little difficult to do that, but like obviously, you try to do that. And then sometimes you need to stabilize during stage 3 on either 3-2 or 3-5. Super late game, you could add in like random legendary units. Like you could add in like Fiddlesticks is probably going to be my favorite. He's a Vanquisher. You play him in random boards anyways, but this board he's especially good because you add in more Vanquisher, which is nice. Taric can be pretty good. Honestly, any of them really work here, but yeah, that's pretty much how you play this 3-cost reroll. So back to the summary at the top. I don't know why we skipped that one. If you have a reroll angle like Ashe, Tryndamere, or Draven work, and if you're not sure what to do, play one of the flex boards. Yunara Flex, Freljord Flex, Demacia. Any of those can be kind of done. Like if you have Demacia start, you can kind of go for it. And then if you're lose streaking, just go Diana and then just like collect your top 4, go to the next game. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to know about this patch. Let me know if you have any questions down in the comments below. Hop on into the Discord, go to the website, bunnymuffins.lol/meta, where I'll be updating this as the patch kind of goes on. But yeah, this is the last patch until, I believe, January 6th or 7th or 8th. I don't remember which one it is. It's like first week of January or like end of first week of January. That's when the next patch is, whichever the Tuesday or Wednesday is. Good luck. Let me know how the climbs go, and I'll see you all in the next video.